Welcome back to the Last Week This Week podcast, episode 79. I'm Ian Scott.
And I'm Zack Huber.
And this is the podcast where we talk about film and TV topics from the last week, give them to you all this week. And as always, we have a couple of exciting reviews and topics to go over with you.
Yes. So besides our main review that we're going to start off today's episode with, we're going to talk about Daniel Craig and his director that he's teamed up with for his most recent movie, Queer, in talks to star and also direct Sergeant Rock movie for DC Studios, as well as we have word from the Kraven the Hunter director for the movie that is coming out in December, saying that in a few weeks that we should, as fans, not let all of Sony's other missteps affect the way that we view this Kraven movie, and then we should give it a chance. We should give Kraven a chance.
Yep.
Also, there's a report from Daniel Reichman that Ahsoka season 2 will be the end of the series, reportedly, as well as we have our Dune Prophecy episode 2 review, which will be at the end of the podcast. But firstly, we're gonna review Wicked, which we both saw together because I needed to understand the physical reactions that Ian has towards a musical, because notoriously he said, I don't like musicals. And I was like, you just haven't seen good ones yet. Which admittedly,
this is a good one.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a little biased because I had
like the play.
I really like the play.
Sorry, it's a Broadway musical, I should say.
Yes, I really like the Broadway musical that I saw, and I'm also I do like musicals. That is something that I thoroughly enjoy.
Right.
Ian has only for background. Ian, besides like movies that have music where like the characters perform songs like in
throughout the movie,
with like the Blues Brothers or like Walk the Line and stuff where like they're actually performing the songs and it's like it's actually happening in the movie as like their job or whatever, you know?
Yeah, right. It's like a natural fit into the movie. Right.
He's only seen Chicago, which I have not seen, but multiple people have said it's incredible, and Ian says it's the biggest piece of shit he's ever seen.
It's so bad.
So these are the two different opinions that are coming to this. But I really love this movie. I'm still kind of on the fence about like my score that I gave it, which like we can talk about later. Because sometimes I'm like, nah, maybe I did like it a lot more than what I rated it. But I really enjoyed this movie. I think that personally, this movie is not anywhere as it would not nearly be as entertaining if it weren't for Ariana Grande, who I feel like balanced incredible emotion and subtlety in her performance when she's dealing with more complex emotions than what Glinda would normally deal with, which is pretty self-centeredness and vanity, but at the same time was so comedically just had the comedic chops and the charm and the pipes to sing some of these operatic notes. Like, so I just feel like Ariana was just absolutely magnetic, and I just love seeing her on screen. I also love the Glinda character that is on Broadway, and she is way more a part of Act One. Like I would say, Act One, Glinda is way more of a center, like a focus. Obviously, Elphaba is as well, but when we get to Act Two, I think it'll switch a little bit. I also think Cynthia Erivo is fantastic as Elphaba. She's got an amazing voice. I think she plays this shy, or at least maybe not shy. I think that's the wrong word, but like somebody who's
unconfident.
Unconfident, but also has been bullied and
put down by her own family and
for so long, and seen as an outsider that it's almost like she seems confident, but really she's just, it's a way that she's like dealing with all the feelings she's dealt with. I think Michelle Yeoh was, it's not really surprising that Michelle Yeoh is good, but I wasn't expecting her in a movie like this, and I thought she did a wonderful job as one of the professors of Shiz University.
I will say though, I think she did a good job acting wise. I think like I did listen to the song from the Broadway musical that she performed, and I think the performer who does that role in the Broadway musical is, I think, a lot stronger of a voice.
Yeah, I mean,
like Michelle Yeoh, I was not impressed with it at all singing. But I think she did the role well,
Right. Yeah. Like, I think if there's one thing, if you want to get into like the singing aspect, I think in honesty, like there's maybe, I can't speak for the actors that did Nez and Bach, because like they were good when I heard them in the movie. Yeah, they sang.
Okay, I don't remember,
but like not a ton. But I would say like the two main focuses, obviously Cynthia Erivo and Ariana. Everybody else, I think, does a really like. There wasn't one time there I was like, oof. Like, it's not like the same reaction that a lot of people have, even though I feel differently, but not the same reaction that people have when Russell Crowe shows up in Les Mis and he starts singing and everyone's like, yeah, no, we this is not working. So everyone did a great job, but like if I'm comparing it to Broadway singing, it's gonna fall a bit short, probably for most people in the cast.
Right, other than the main two.
But everybody did a great job. So like I agree. Like I didn't think that her singing blew me away but I thought she was good. Surprisingly, Peter Dinklage as a goat was
so good.
Was really great.
Great. Yeah.
I think the way that they handled the animals in the movie like could have been kind of cheesy, but they gave them such earnestness that and they always had them in scenes of importance and emotional importance, like the birth of Elphaba, or a scene like one of the first scenes,
the nanny raising Elphaba, right,
and or like when they go to class and Peter Dinklage like flips the chalkboard and you have this pretty shocking moment.
They were always in a scene of importance for sure.
Anyways,
it's funny. So not to go off on a tangent with this, but like I thought I saw somebody's opinion that like they would have preferred the animals to look a little bit more like the animals did in D&D, the movie. I don't know if you remember the opening scene where they use the bird to like fly out of the window.
Oh, yeah,
that's kind of the scene that they referenced.
So they wanted them
more
to be more
like a physical like prosthetic, right? And I was
I don't
like,
know how that would work with the goat though.
Yeah, it's a little tough. I don't think it would work incredibly well, but I was like, it didn't look bad in D&D.
No, I mean I love what was his name? Jeffrey? Was it
Joffrey or something?
Joffrey? Yeah. I mean,
something like that.
I love Jeffrey in D&D.
Yeah.
They were all fun.
Yeah.
All the animals were fun.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean the set designs were
really good.
For lack of a better word, magical. I mean, I really felt like when we play like Hogwarts Legacy, and if you don't like that I play Hogwarts Legacy, I'm sorry. I like that game.
It is what it is. Yeah.
It's it really felt like the way it felt like it was still Hogwarts, and it still felt like in this analogy that it's Wizard of Oz, but we've gone to school and it's this new. It doesn't even have to necessarily be attached to Wizard of Oz, but like I really felt like this.
Yeah, we were still in that world, right?
Yeah, but I felt like this wonder, and I felt like I wanted to like learn more about this world, even though I kind of already know about it. But it felt like this new, fresh thing, and I just loved being at Shiz. Like it just seemed like such a fun, beautiful place to be at,
right?
And I think they just did a great job with the costumes and the production, and
I mean, besides all the new stuff they made, they did a great job like enhancing what we had seen in like the original Wizard of Oz production. You know, like the one that stands out to me the most is like how they portrayed like the wizard kind of faking his presence. You know how like in the original movie it's like this kind of image projected. But like in this, it was like this whole moving like giant head, and I don't know, everything just felt more real in a sense. And and I think that was for the better.
Yeah, I mean, I think the moving head and all of that, the mechanical head and all, and it was also something from the play.
Okay. I know they also tried to stay like more true to the book, like the original book, because like, and maybe like there's some other reasons here too, but like they also changed the fact that like her like ruby slippers weren't like, you know, red or whatever. It was like, which, you know, I from what I hear is like kind of legal reasons, but also like
apparently they don't have the rights actually to the Wizard of Oz, like the movie. Right. So that, they based things more off the book. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think basing it on that, I think maybe helped it separate itself a little more from the original movie, you know. But
the thing that I liked about what you brought up about the big mechanical head is, if I'm not mistaken, he was just like this inventor guy. Right. So it kind of makes sense that he builds these things, as opposed to in the original movie. I think that would have been very difficult. I mean, you could do it.
But back in 1939, that would have been difficult.
But yeah, it would have been difficult. And they certainly made it more magical with the face being projected as they did.
For sure.
So that was a really great addition. I think Jeff Goldblum as the wizard was brief, but he was good, and I'm excited to see more of him.
No, he was good
later on.
For sure. So I'll go into my thoughts a little briefly. So I definitely liked it. It wasn't like I think for me, and I expressed this to you after we saw it, was that like I just don't think I'll ever be a fan of like the entire scene breaking out into like a choreographed song and dance.
It's just so wonderful to see. It's just
not.
I just be curious to see you watch like you know, like golden age Hollywood productions where like that stuff would happen.
I don't know like what the difference is for me in my head, but like I don't mind seeing that like on a stage play. You know, like I don't know. I think bringing it into the movie I just have a disconnect. But other than that, I think like the story was pretty strong visually, like we were discussing, the sets are beautiful, and like I believe we were in the world of like the Wizard of Oz. I love how the movie started. Like I love that we were kind of like going to the end of the original movie and like telling a story. I thought that was very cool. And then like I would agree, like Ariana Grande was great, and I think she killed it vocally. Like she had some amazing songs in there, but I think I was more blown away by Cynthia Erivo and her performance with Elphaba. There was a couple songs where I was just like blown away. I mean, she knocked it out of the park. And to me, what's funny is that you say like she's going to be more of the focus in part 2. I already felt like she was more of the focus in part 1. Like she felt to me like we were seeing the movie through her eyes rather than like Galinda's, you know?
Yeah. And that when I say that, I do mean like I agree. Like you are watching the whole story through Elphaba. It's her story,
right?
But but it is being narrated by Glinda,
Sure.
and you are still seeing a progression in her character as well, albeit it's just not. It's obviously not.
Yeah, it didn't feel very noticeable at the end.
lead.
Right.
But I do feel like there's more Glinda singing. There's more Glinda oriented like narration that she's telling you about what's going on, and to me it's like it's probably it's either 50-50 or 60-40. Like they're pretty close. But I just feel like she's more of a central part, and then we get to the second act.
Sure, she's definitely the co-lead. Like I don't doubt that. But I guess for me, it's like we follow Elphaba through this movie, like from her birth, like even before her birth. Like we're following her parents, and like I don't know, like it just feels and we're rooting for Elphaba the whole time, rather than like we're rooting for Glinda, and I don't know.
I know
that's why.
You don't have. I understand what you're saying, but you don't have to root for Glinda necessarily for it to still be like partially her story as well. Like
sure.
Both of them are on the cover for a reason.
Because I agree.
I also just want to say, when you say like Ariana obviously has some great singing, I truly think that her acting was incredible in this movie.
Sure. Like, I mean, it's probably the best acting I've ever seen from her. Like, no doubt.
Yeah. But I think just in general, like, I loved her performance, even though, like, I know she's been in other things here and there, but it doesn't even matter if it's from comparison to like her days at Nickelodeon or whatever. It's just, I thought that was an amazing performance. And sometimes I think, oh yeah, like she was funny. I think it's really difficult to be that funny, but also I truly felt like emotion come through, and
she hit the full range. Like, she could be funny, but she could also be very like emotionally connecting and have heart, and but also be, distressed. And I mean, like she hit the full range. Yeah. But I also feel like Elphaba hit that range as well. Like Cynthia Erivo. Right.
Absolutely.
And just for me, like I guess I wasn't expecting Cynthia Erivo to like be as amazing as she was. Like I already knew Ariana Grande was like incredibly talented, but I had really had no idea about Cynthia Erivo. And I think that maybe that's what caught me off guard.
Yeah. And I don't want it to sound like that's not that's not true as well, because she was fantastic as Elphaba. And I mean, like they extended it quite a long, probably double the amount of time that it is in the play for the Defying Gravity section. But her singing when she's on the broomstick is like awe-inspiring. Like
it's so good.
So good.
Yeah. I truly can't imagine like, and yes, like I know Idina Menzel like played the original and she's iconic for it. Yeah. But now I can't imagine like seeing another person portray this role or sing her parts. And like when I have heard Idina Menzel sing like one of those songs, I'm not nearly as impressed.
That's interesting.
Because, it's wild.
Well, because I do really love her as Elphaba. But like I don't know if I would go that far. Just because like even though I did not see Idina Menzel, the actress that I did see, maybe it's just like the first time you see it kind of effect. Sure. But there was like, she also was incredible and did things that I liked with that character that are different than Cynthia. Yeah. And then the same thing goes for Ariana. Like I wouldn't necessarily say that I think that Ariana is the definition of what I would think of Glinda, because the play that I saw, I love that performance, and they're very similar performances, but they're different in ways. And and if there was one thing that I would have a negative about the movie, would probably be that although there's times where scenes are highly elevated due to the fact that you can have CGI and you can have a moving camera and you can get close to things and you can do things that you can't do in a play,
right?
Like the Defying Gravity scene with the broomsticks and all that, as well as, you know, you can kind of get the same effect, but not really. But of like Elphaba doing like me and the Wizard and I, where she's like running through the field and that tracking shot is just incredible. There's also some scenes where the way that you would view it on the play, it gets kind of lost in the way that they try to shoot it as a scene. Like there's things in like Popular that I'm like, I really would have liked to see this as the full the way that the Ariana would do like body comedy or choreography, or some other scenes that you can have an eye on everybody at the same time, which is not possible, not entirely possible with a movie.
It's not going to fit for a film.
So there's just like those differences that sometimes I'm just like, well, I know I have to kind of get the two to be separate, but I can't help but sometimes feel like I would have liked to just change this one thing, but then there's other things that I'm like, that was really cool that they were able to zoom in on the camera even more and more as so there's just things in relation to the play that I'm like, but that's probably what I don't know.
I think for me, sorry, go on.
No, you go.
I was just going to say, I think for me, like the things I have a problem with, or maybe like things that will be explained in part 2 and that we just don't have the answers yet. It's just, you know, like we had a few loose ends that weren't wrapped up by the end of this movie, you know, with the characters at Shiz. And then we also, you know, kind of got a weird-ish ending with Galinda and her kind of reaction to Elphaba and her wanting to like fight for the animals' rights. And Galinda's just like, nah, it's everything you wanted. Just come back. You know, just talk to him. I think there was a lot of moments where like it didn't feel like Galinda was a good person in a sense, or is more performative than not. And I think I wanted. And maybe it's just, you know, because I had expectations going in, but I wanted a, you know, like, yes, this is a retelling of the tale, but like I wanted a little more like vagueness and who was right, who was wrong. But, you know, it sounds like from what I'm getting, it sounds like maybe they're like still teaming up and like they're still on one side. And, you know, you don't have to confirm or deny anything, but like it sounds like the second part will maybe make the first part better, which I'm like so usually against like a second movie, like making a first movie like better or worse. But I think it might possibly like, I might in the future have to look at both of these as like one entity. And then,
and that's what I think that would be the other thing that I would be negative about, is because I like what you're saying is I don't think you have to view it as one thing, because just one part isn't gonna do it. Like I got to see the whole story in one piece, so when Act 1 is over, which is this movie, you're only left hanging for like 15-20 minutes before we get back into it, whereas now you've got like a year to ponder things, and it wasn't intended to be that way. I do think that the way that they end, that's probably one of the bigger negatives that I have, is you didn't, when Act 1 in the play ends, you understand where
like where Galinda's mind at? Oh, okay.
Fierro. You know where Fierro is, like what he's about to do. Which in the movie, do you have any idea what he's about to do?
They don't hit at it at all. They just show that he knows that like the world is against Elphaba right now. That's all he knows.
But that's all you know, right?
Yeah.
So that I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case in the play. And I don't think that they showed very well, unless they kind of switch things up in the second half. They don't exactly show where Glinda is with things, and they didn't really flesh out what's going on with Elphaba and Glinda, I think, the way that the play did, which is so interesting because they have the entire length of the play in this movie, but yet they only did act 1. So it's just very interesting how some things kind of fell through the wayside and other things were like extended or other things were fleshed out. Like the young Elphaba bit was actually never in the play.
Oh, okay.
Which when we first watched it, I was like, I can't remember if it was. Yeah. But I think they didn't do as great a job at setting up like where all our characters are headed necessarily.
Right. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, and it's not like I would really cut out anything from this movie per se. Like a lot of the story elements were very essential. Yeah, sure. But but like that's it's just not for me. Like I get everyone else likes it, so I'm not gonna like cut that from the movie. But I think even though they had all this time, there's nothing I'd really cut. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like they should have left some cliffhangers. Although, like I know the director, I think John M. Chu was saying like he didn't want it to feel like there was, like this was anything less than a complete movie. Like he wanted people to leave the theater and be like, this was a complete movie, and I watched a full story. But
I wouldn't say that.
Right. There's like clearly a lot more to uncover and wrap up.
Right.
So.
Like, I think I would say that Dune Part 1 did a better job of letting me feel like it was a full story, even though it definitely wasn't, but it still felt more like a complete story because, but I don't know. In a sense.
Because there's still so much more to go down the road.
There was so much more to go, but like in terms of Elphaba, like she did change in ways, but not
changed a lot.
Well, yeah, but I didn't think as significantly as like the way that you like. I look at Paul at the beginning of Dune, and then I look at Paul at the beginning of Dune Part 1, and I'm like, well, he's like completely gone from this prince to this, embracing this other culture, and Elphaba, like, she is changed, but not as drastically as like something like that, where like I'm like, okay, I had a full character arc, and like I could imagine them just like, we're gonna, I'm gonna fight again. This is how the rest of the story goes. Like in my head, I could be like, okay, I can infer what's gonna happen, but in this, I can't. I
would push back on that a little bit. I think only because I feel like we go through the beginning where like Elphaba, is very much like wanting approval from the world, and by the end she's standing in her own convictions, fighting for what she believes is right, and doesn't. I feel like we go through a pretty good character arc with her.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. Yes. That. Okay. I will stand corrected in that regard. I do agree. Like she does have that big character arc. I think it's the like just really quick, like everyone's against her.
Sure. It happens so fast.
She's being vilified.
She got her outfit.
She got her outfit.
Yeah.
And now she's saying, hey, you're never gonna take me down. And then movie ends. Whereas I guess in Dune, it's like I'm gonna take down the Empire, but like I
got to start with the Fremen, gaining their trust first.
But something about it was like, we know where it's going, and we could even like imagine our heads. Like if that was the end of the movie, like that's how he starts it. Like that's the beginning of his journey. And he got to that place where he's going to start taking them down. Whereas this one, I'm like, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. Well, I mean,
you do know. Yeah. That's more me, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, I really loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm debating if I should have gave it 4.5.
I know originally you said 4.5. I gave it a 3.5.
Still on the fence about it, but yeah.
I still feel like 3.5 is a good rating. I think it was a good movie and it was enjoyable. And I think if you like musicals, you'll have a really great time.
Yeah, I mean, I had a fantastic time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta watch it again.
Yeah. I still like to see the original Wizard of Oz because I haven't seen it in like over a decade. So
yeah, I don't think I've seen it since I was a kid.
Yeah, same. So yeah, that'll be enjoyable to see, like, you know, what kind of lines up.
Over the rainbow. You know that song? I've had a fierce debate about how the like Hawaiian version that everybody plays at their wedding, like, it is a sweet.
Oh yeah, it's not the original.
No, it's not. But it's a sweet version. But it's kind of slow, and
you don't like that version?
Not really. When you compare it to the Judy Garland, like, you know, when he's doing the and some da 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 da, it goes like that. Whereas the Judy Garland version goes and da 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 da, and it's so like building and dramatic. I'll have to listen to it again. And it's beautiful.
Yeah. But I love that Hawaiian version.
I don't know.
It's so good.
I find it to be a little bit of a snore fest, to be honest. Honest.
Okay. Very interesting take. It's probably a hot take, I'd say.
People look, most of my family members would probably fight me about that. They're like, I love play Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And then they only want that version. They don't want the Judy Garland version.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've heard another version, so I don't really remember what the Judy Garland one sounds like, to be honest.
It's incredible.
I'll have to give it a listen. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's our thoughts on Wicked. We both enjoyed it. We think you will too if you haven't seen it yet.
Yes.
But yeah, now on to a completely different topic. We got the announcement this week that James Gunn's DC Studios, DC Universe, is greenlighting a Sergeant Rock film.
Well, I wouldn't say it's greenlit.
Well, I would say it's greenlit only because they have a finished script. They have an actor, they have a director. That feels like it's pretty greenlit to me. If that's all true. Yes, like James Gunn hasn't officially said anything.
I mean, it says no deals have been inked between DC Studios, Craig, and then the director.
Oh, okay. So maybe not greenlit, but they at least have the actor in mind, the director in mind, and a finished script. And you know, I know James Gunn recently said he wouldn't greenlight anything until they have a finished script and they're happy with it. So if it is greenlit, it's going to be greenlit soon. But yeah, this is the from the same director who did, you mentioned earlier, Queer. That is Luca Guadagnino.
You can do it.
Yeah, I think I got it. Luca Guadagnino. And so this Sergeant Rock film is being written by also the person who wrote Queer. And I haven't seen Queer. I haven't really done any research on that movie.
Don't believe it's out yet.
Oh, it's not even out yet. Okay. I saw some of the trailer, and I will say, like, for context, Sergeant Rock is a DC superhero type character that is a World War II soldier. And so that's going to take place in the 40s, 50s. And, you know, this movie Queer, I guess, took place in like the 50s in Mexico. I think like the look and like the cinematography feels like you could bring that over to Sergeant Rock in a sense. Like the world feels right for that. And so like I definitely don't hate that, like, you know, going back to this pairing of you know, Luca and Daniel Craig and then the same writer. Like if the movie's even good. But I think this is surprising to all of us if this is like one of the first 10 projects at the DCU. but it's like, it's a pretty cool character. I don't know if you know much about Sergeant Rock.
I mean, not particularly, other than he's fights in World War II.
Right.
And he's, there was at least 2 movies that were in the works. One where Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be Sergeant Rock. The other one where Bruce Willis was going to be Sergeant Rock.
Were these recently or?
No, okay. I believe they were back in more like the 80s, their heyday.
Okay. Because like that's when the original comic was coming out, from like the late 70s to the late 80s.
Yeah. Well, at least, but I guess his character first appeared in 59.
Yeah. And then he got his own series in like 78 or something.
Yes. And I mean I'd be curious to know if they would set it strictly in World War II, or if they would bring this into a more contemporary time period, like the 2000s or even current day.
I feel like they would go. I mean, I don't know. I feel like, and maybe this isn't a factor, but I do feel like, the director and Daniel Craig coming off of this movie in a very similar time period has to say something in my mind. That they're passionate about making something kind of around that same kind of time period. But if not, I do believe like it could be very similar to how the MCU handled Captain America,
where freeze him. Maybe
not freeze him, but maybe there's some reason like he doesn't age at a certain point.
Well, what I would like to know is, I think this is a cool idea. And I think this is like another thing that's like, yeah, more of this. Like, when somebody goes to the movie theater and they're like, like some dude's like, oh my God, Sergeant Rock. Oh my God, dude, that movie looks so badass. And then, they like, or like some, your dad, like your boomer dad is like, I see there's this World War II movie coming out. I kind of want to watch it. And then they see the DC Studios logo and they're like, it's a comic book, like I think that would be like a really cool, as long as the story is really good. Right. I think that would be really cool because like I think most people think of comic books and they go, oh, it's a superhero. But like I've been reading DC. I mean, granted, a lot of them are based off of superheroes, but like I just finished a DC Black Label book, which was Day Tripper, and that had nothing to do with superheroes, but it was amazing. Nice. It was beautiful, and that's what a lot of different independent comics are, and or graphic novels are as well. And that'd be cool because you don't see Marvel really taking from any of their catalog that is not exactly superhero related.
Right. Something with a cape or a suit but like, yeah. And by all means, this guy isn't really a superhero. I mean, like he's got superhuman abilities, but it's not like he goes out and fights crime. He's in a war. And
I'm like, I wouldn't put it past them to just be like, it fits into the world, but it doesn't need to like continue on. Like it's a story we wanted to tell. It's staying.
It can be set in our universe, but we don't need to continue it.
Right? Yeah, like it's staying in the 40s. And that's like, maybe we could mention him. Maybe if we ever have flashbacks to an earlier time period, hey Daniel, do you want to come just do this cameo real quick?
Yeah, maybe he'd be down, right? If he loves the character.
So I wouldn't put him past them to just keep it in World War II,
right?
Make it this, because do you know if he interacts with superheroes, or is it just primarily war story stuff? So
there's one version of the character that like at the end of World War II. So I think this is also such a badass line, but like he apparently like in one version dies at the last bullet fired in World War II.
Oh,
like
wow.
he's like the last death of World War II.
Jeez.
The other version is that he lives and like, works for the government, like secretly, but then like also, down the line, like teams up with Batman and Superman and like, fight some crime with them, I guess. And so
like aged 80 or 90?
I don't know how he's staying the same age. They don't ever explain that, I guess. I don't know.
Is he like Wolverine and just slowly ages?
Maybe they'll add that in so Daniel Craig can keep playing the character.
Maybe. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, the character dying if it's like that cool. But yeah, I think it would be a little awkward seeing him like with other DC superheroes, and he's just like got a soldier uniform on and a gun, you know?
I mean, I agree, but is it that much different than, Rick Flag Sr.?
Sure. It's not.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it would be very cool to see like these abilities in live action or like in a movie. And for context, like he's got the ability to like shoot, with like incredible accuracy. Like they described how not like that, but like he can shoot down a plane with a submachine gun. And he's got like super like endurance and vulnerability. And so like he's able to survive like freezing cold temperatures and take a bunch of bullets and like, so.
All right. Well, at that point, I mean, it would be a very heightened kind of reality for sure at that point. Yeah.
Right. But I think they would have to explain something to do with the fact that like he's able to go the extra mile in like every part of his life, Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like something that like Edgar Wright would direct. Like it sounds like a souped up Kingsman,
I could kind of see that. Yeah. I'm glad it's not him directing it, but I could see it.
I mean, I love Edgar Wright. I just, some of his movies don't hit.
Right.
Like Argyle.
Yeah. Or from what I heard, The King's Man wasn't very good either. So
I actually enjoyed that more than the second Kingsman.
Okay. Yeah, I heard the second Kingsman wasn't good either, but yeah, I've only ever seen the first.
I mean,
I feel like it's good to stop there at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be disappointed if you watch The Kings. I mean, you're
right.
I'm getting off topic. But.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, no, I think it's a cool concept. I'm glad that it's this trio that's paired. It's like already been paired, so they have this chemistry and know how to work together. Cool that the script's been written, and I think it'd be a dope idea to see in live action. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that the director apparently really liked the character and wanted to do something with the character, and specifically wanted to have it be Daniel who does it.
Yeah, and I guess like I'm happy with Daniel Craig. Like I think he's got the face for it, and I think like it'd be cool to see him in this. But I do think like he's already pretty up there, like in like mid to late 50s, I think. So I don't know if it necessarily works for like someone enlisting in 1942 to the army, but we'll see. I mean, he'd just be an older steel mill worker guy.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So
yeah.
No, yeah, I think it's a very exciting idea.
Yeah, I do too.
Cool. Well, our next topic here is from director of the Kraven the Hunter, J.C. Chandor. He's been trying to convince fans that the Sony universe shouldn't diminish what his movie is, that, we should give it a chance, that, his movie, even though it can be set up for more, he'd strive to do a really great one fulfilling story. And
which is what every movie should be.
Agreed. I wouldn't say like the other movies haven't been set up for their one individual story, but that's fair. I mean, if you're saying that this doesn't need the other universe, the rest of the universe, and you've made a good story, then it's possible. It's possible that this can be good.
It's possible.
But Sony has had
there's a chance
the worst track record. There's already things we don't like about the trailers. I think there's a little bit more of a reason than just like this belongs in the Sony universe. Although I think it's a big part of it. That's why like a lot of people, and even myself, doesn't really want to see it. I'm just curious at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I did not see Venom 3.
You still haven't seen it? Wow.
I'll get to it one day. I mean, I just, all the bad. I mean, and this feeds into the fact that, like, okay, say you're not in the know nerd who's following this shit.
One of us.
And you see this movie. You look at this movie and I couldn't help, and other people in my theater can't help but laugh when the lion blood drips into him and he goes, I'm superhuman, I'm like a lion, and just starts
I feel like what you're banking on,
and I'm just like, that was so stupid, as well as, like, I don't know, there's just something about the trailers where, like, some stuff I do like, some stuff I'm really not into, but there's something about the fact that it's like, so he's like this hunter dude, but he's got superpowers, and, like, who exactly is he? And, like, it just all goes into the fact that some characters you need to have Spider-Man with to contextualize who they are. As opposed,
like, Kraven's story, like, really gets interesting once he starts fighting and hunting Spider-Man. Like, that's where you need to go with it.
Granted, you could have made that argument about the Penguin or a lot of other
that's fair
characters, and then you find you're in, and I really do hope that maybe this movie surprises us and does come up with a good story, something to do with his dad, I guess.
Right.
But the fact that he hopes that this film will wash away some of the negative reactions of the Sony universe, I hope so too. But and I do think that you should give every film a chance. But I'm not saying that this dude's like saying, like, you fans, like, you don't be mean to my movie, like, and that he's being vicious. I think he's just like, please just give it a chance, like, at least that's,
like, he doesn't want it to be dead on arrival at this point,
which, like, of course you don't, but, like, I think the trajectory for this movie's opening numbers are not very great, and how can you blame them when or expect people to want to go see this movie that produced Morbius, and in the same year Madam Web. And in the same year, made a Venom movie that some people say is the worst Venom movie yet.
Yep.
So I think, like, I get it. I know you, like, this is like some sort of PR to try to assuade people to see it and play on the good of their heart. But, like, I still may not even go see this movie. To be honest, like, I don't know, because I'm just like, do I really want to waste my time?
Yeah,
which is unfair, I know, and I don't want to base my opinion off of early reactions or reviews, but, like,
it's hard not to. Like, the track record alone speaks for the studio, and, like, we shouldn't keep giving them chances. Like, it shouldn't keep happening.
It shouldn't be. Like, do I give my money to something that is continuously, since some people really like the Venom movies, but for the most part, continuously since 2018 has just put out for 6 years.
Has never put out a good, in my mind, they have never put out a good movie since the first Venom. Yeah. So the only thing they got going for them is the Spider-Verse. Like, that's really it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, hopefully this movie is, like, I don't know. The thing is that even if this movie is really good
for some reason,
and, like, let's say it's really good, maybe it goes on, but,
like, Kraven goes to, like, into the future with their universe, or, like, what?
Or, like, like, maybe their universe goes on with strictly Kraven, or maybe it goes on with.
Could you imagine?
No, I can't. Like, it just doesn't seem plausible. But, like, maybe it goes on. But, like, I can't imagine if this movie does bad. I mean, I just think the whole universe has got to go. Just say, I'm sorry, we're not going to make anything for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I am so curious for you to see Venom 3 eventually, because like what is currently in the Sony universe is just so not enough to defeat Null, is what and is what their big setup is by the end of Venom 3, is that Null's coming, and or just, at some point he's coming and we're gonna have to fight him. But like, I don't know who is fighting him that can even take a punch.
Yeah.
So
exactly. I don't know who in the comics you bring in with the characters that they have in their disposal to do that.
Right.
And I think, honestly, it's like the Morbius end credit scene. It's like the build up of Justice League Snyder Cut. It's like, look, the nightmare world, it was gonna be cool. It was. But the facing off against Darkseid, I wanted it too. But some things are never gonna happen.
Right. It's just gonna be a never ending what if,
And to be honest, I don't really want to see just leftover B-side Spider-Man villains face off against Null.
Yeah, I agree.
Not that I would say that Kraven is a B level or that Venom is a B level, but like in with the characters that they have, like Morbius, Madam Web, Rhino, Silver Sable, Black Cat, maybe,
possibly El Muerto if they ever make that one.
El Muerto. Yeah, like maybe. What was the Childish Gambino one that he was gonna be?
He was gonna be in a.
Yeah, remember we reported.
Well, I know. Oh, Prowler. He was gonna be Prowler.
No. It was a Sony villain. He was gonna be. It wasn't Prowler. It was the Hypno Hustler.
Oh, right. I totally forgot about
maybe the Hypno Hustler.
No way he does that.
Gets funky on Null's ass and lays down some sick beats or some sick grooves and just blasts. What are they doing?
It's such a confusing time for them over there. I think like what they're hoping, which is such a weird thing to hope on, is that like I don't know, like some action movie fans are like, whoa, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Russell Crowe, the father-son facing head to head. That's
which I'm not gonna lie, that is kind of cool.
Yeah, but like, do they care that he's got some lion blood in him and has superhuman abilities?
No,
I don't think they do. And for the people who actually know who Kraven is, like, they don't, like, it's obvious that this concept is just not that strong for Kraven.
Yeah, I think what's also disappointing is that, like, for people who do like Kraven, it's the same thing that happened for so many. It's the same thing that happened for so many early superhero movies. Was this? They tried to make adaptations and changes to characters that people loved, but in reality it resembled nothing of the character.
Right, because they turn
not enough
decent
of it
by the end, Yeah,
like
decent, all of these movies,
or they're just not even like Halle Berry's Catwoman is not Catwoman, and what else? Like, obviously, a lot of the Hammer, or maybe not Hammer, but the like the canon Marvel movies, like the Captain Americas and the Spider-Mans, like maybe they look like the characters, but they're nothing like the characters. And and like, it's not satisfying to the fans. And I would say maybe some of the Fantastic Four movies.
I was going to say that too.
Or maybe Punisher a little bit. Just like these characters that are like, they're halfway there, but they're not really the thing that we like. And people get up. So you're not. So even the Kraven fans aren't like, oh my god, Kraven. They're like, what is this?
Because they know he's gonna have some character arc where he's like a pretty good guy by the end, or like maybe on the side of good or something like that.
Right.
And where like
and
we just got something so beautiful with the Penguin where he turned into a full monster by the end of it. Like
so beautiful.
I think we could have like stories like that where they're full villains by the end, but then they have to fight against an even like worse villain that comes in, and they're like, I think that's a more exciting story to see, like these awful people have to band in a sense. So like these awful people band together to save the world. I think that it's more compelling to me than seeing like these supposed villains become good people and then have to like form some good Sinister Six or secret or whatever it is.
I agree. I do agree. It's just at a certain point, like I have had people talk to me and be like, why am I watching all of these shows about terrible people doing terrible things and I'm supposed to keep watching them for what?
They're good stories.
Which like I don't necessarily fall into that that line of thinking.
Good person to follow him.
But I do understand like some people just want to, maybe they want to watch something like Ted Lasso where you just see nice people doing nice things.
And it's a good show. Yeah, watch Ted Lasso if you just want a lot of happiness and and family and it's great. It's great. Yeah.
So well, that's how we did a full we went from Kraven to Ted Lasso somehow, but anyways,
we did. Yeah,
I don't know if I want to give this movie a chance. So
I'm probably going to, because I'm just curious. I feel like we've talked about it a good bit. I'd like to know my own opinion on Kraven, but that's just me. I get why you don't want to. I get it.
I'm not saying I won't.
Sure. But there's a strong possibility.
There's a strong possibility I might just wait till it comes out on a streamer, and I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I haven't even seen Aquaman 2 yet.
So. Yeah, I haven't either. And that's on HBO right now.
I could I could turn it on right now.
We just choose not to. Yeah.
It's the same thing with Rocket Man. I'm like, oh, I heard it is good.
Oh, I heard that's really good too. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Another time.
Yeah, another time. Never.
But yeah, that's our thoughts on Kraven. Yeah, but we also got a report this week that Ahsoka season 2 from Lucasfilm and Disney Plus, that is possibly going to be the ending of Ahsoka. They haven't like canceled season 3 yet, but the I guess the thought behind the writers and the showrunners is that season 3 isn't guaranteed, so they're going to do a season 2 where by the end of it, it's going to be like fully wrapped up. There won't be any cliffhangers per se, and if a season 3 does come, then that's great. But if it doesn't, then we have an ending to Ahsoka. I'm a little surprised, but I can't say too surprised. I mean, one, like Ahsoka, season 1 didn't perform amazingly on Disney Plus. I think it kind of just barely got the season 2 that they announced a while back. But the other part is that they set up a lot with season 2. Like they set up the elder, I don't remember, the elder gods or something. Yeah, they set up the elder gods and Baylan Skoll. They set up Ahsoka and Sabine trying to go to that direction. They set up Admiral Thrawn coming back into the universe. I don't know how you wrap up the Admiral Thrawn plot alone in one season. I think that would be a little disappointing.
I think you can. Yeah. It would just be disappointing.
Right. Yeah.
Which is not new for Disney Plus shows. So, by the way, this is just a report from Daniel Reichman, which we've talked about stuff from before, who sometimes is right, sometimes is wrong. So this is not confirmed, but it could be true because he's gotten some things right before.
Well, I think what also leads me to think this is true is that like it feels like
you can't just leave this one open-ended. I'm sorry. Like
sure,
there is way too much that went down. And I think that it didn't perform as badly as something like The Acolyte, where it's like, okay, there's no way we can justify this, guys.
Right.
This one, there's already built-in fan base for Ahsoka. There's already built-in fan base for all of the Rebel people who love Rebels.
Well, and plus, I think it's tying into like the
Mando movie,
the Mando movies, and then in that universe, like it's a big part of it because Thrawn's a huge character, and so is Ahsoka in her own right.
Yeah.
So, but on the other hand, like I know the Mandalorian universe is ending after like one or two more movies. And, I from what I hear, Ahsoka season 2 will come out in like 2026. That's probably when one of the Mandalorian movies come out. I don't think the timing is bad. I think it makes sense if like that TV universe is wrapping up,
Yeah. I think if you got really good showrunners and did as much with your time on screen as possible, and you got away from 30-minute episodes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I think there is a world where you could discover what is going on with this planet outside of the galaxy that we have typically been in with these elder gods and Ahsoka and Sabine and Balin's skull, and also tie in Thrawn and
Ezra
and all the rebel crew and our our not the rebels anymore, but our, what do you even call them?
New Republic
officers. Yeah. But I don't know how I feel about, like, I also don't know how you do it, because just for the fact that, like, we talked about how, like, the Mandalorian movies are supposed to close out the universe. And I feel like they're building towards like this confrontation of Thrawn.
Yeah, maybe
and all of the crew. So is it, and so how do you close out and make the Ahsoka season 2 finale feel like a fully closed story, but then it feels like it would most likely it would have to be finished it would still have to be finished by a Mando movie if that's if that's still what they plan on doing.
You're right. That contradicts really badly. Like how can you wrap up a season 2 of Ahsoka without any cliffhangers, but then push Thrawn into a movie?
Yeah, because it does feel like we've been. Because they even talked about Thrawn in The Mandalorian,
Right. Yeah, so like the beginning of season 3,
it feels like we've been pushing towards him this entire time. So if we're, I don't know.
It's gonna be a tough challenge if they don't.
I'd love to know what if they want to do a full story with everything that they've set up. To me, it just feels the way that they decided to make Ahsoka, I'm only speaking as somebody who's assuming that it's going this way, but to make Ahsoka the first instance that we see Thrawn, and to have her stranded on a planet, and the way that you would not, maybe they do the movie in a way where you don't have to see Ahsoka, but it almost seems like you have to see Ahsoka if they're going to bring Thrawn and all of that stuff into a Mandalorian movie, which is what I'm assuming they're going to do. I could be wrong.
I think the Mandalorian movie will be more of like the DCU, not DCU, the Disney universe, but like show universe, but like all together, like maybe Boba Fett shows up, maybe the Skeleton Crew shows up. I think it's possible.
Apparently Boba's not showing up.
Wow. Just like he's done.
Like Tamora Morrison was like, I haven't heard anything, and I don't think I plan on doing anything.
Yeah, we did talk about that a while ago, but that's a bummer if true. But like, also, I get it because like that character sucked by the end of Boba Fett. So, but yeah, no, I think it's gonna be a wrap up, and I think it could also be like a really great wrap up for Ahsoka if they I think they did 8 episodes that first season, but like, if they did 8 episodes, like you said, like 1 hour per episode, like the Penguin just did, like you get a full on season right there, and you can go in depth, in so many of these episodes, like we could have one episode of just exploring the Elder Gods and like their journey to it. And yeah, I feel like we need some breathing room rather than, like the half an hour episodes we've been getting from Disney Star Wars.
Yeah. I just feel like there's no way that you make it a full story and not leave any open ends with what they've set up.
Right.
And I also feel like if they make a season 2, I need them to make a story where Ahsoka is actually going through something and there's a reason for the story, because although there was a lot of stuff that I liked from Ahsoka, I could not tell you for the life of me what the point of that show was, other than to get Thrawn introduced into the universe, bring Ezra back into the universe, and let us see the rebel crew in live action. Because I, honest to God, don't know what that whole story was about.
I mean, one of my favorite, like,
I know you're gonna say the Anakin scenes, but that's from that scene for that episode for people. What people like about it, from what I understand, is all of the buildup from things prior, and they're like, we'll see it, all of these things about why it's so important, and it did this for Ahsoka, and it did this for Anakin, and I'm like, cool, did it for an episode, but we never followed it again.
No, I think that's my argument was going to be like, they tried to do some like character development there where she learned something from Anakin. It just wasn't the strongest journey at all for a character.
But then her character, I just feel like, I just don't know what it just didn't. I just don't feel like her character really changed or did really. I don't really feel like her character really went through much that entire show. I would agree. She didn't go through a whole lot. She didn't change a whole lot. But she did. She did train an apprentice. And it's like, if you wanted to call this show like Rebels, or something other than Ahsoka, where she's not supposed to be the main focus, I could give it a pass. Like, oh, this happened with Sabine, or this happened because I think both you and I were more excited to follow Baylan Skoll than Ahsoka. Yeah, like any of these characters, I could be like, well, at least I can follow. Like like this character's got something going on. But like when your literal show is called Ahsoka and the main character is not really going through anything other than just like, well, I guess I'll train you, and you've got all the interesting parts going on and all the character development, and I'm just kind of a stoic, not Jedi. It's like, and that was really like one of the worst parts of that show was how stoic she was. I mean, she was just pretty boring to watch like at points. So hopefully those problems are addressed. Hopefully they give us longer run times. Hopefully Thrawn isn't done after this season, after this next season. Yeah, but, I mean, granted, if they did wrap him up and Thrawn isn't the big bad, then I don't understand what they built to. Yeah, like what? Maybe Moff Gideon just comes back again. No, not a fourth time, Zach. We can't do it again. We can't. He's just like he needs to come back like brutally maimed. Genuinely, that could get me to not watch like Disney Star Wars for a while if they brought back Moff Gideon for a fourth time. Like that would be so bad. Mando. It's one of the stupid clones or something. Yeah. Yeah. Like God bless. Yeah. So I'm not gonna lie, Moff Gideon was like such a top tier like villain, and now like the way that they handled him in season 3 has just like brought him pretty low. I'm like, he's just a Saturday morning cartoon villain at this point. I think it would have been such a like the entire show would have been so much stronger if they never had a season 3. Genuinely, if they ended at season 2, that's a great ending. That's a great ending to Moff Gideon's story and Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian. I think it all works really well. But then they're like, nope, money. We got to make money, and the rest is history. So. Yeah. So that's Ahsoka. That's Disney Star Wars for you.
But lastly, we're going to move on to our review of episode 2 of Dune Prophecy. I know you just came off of this fresh. So how did you...
Yeah, I just came off of this fresh episode.
Yeah, hell yeah, brother.
So, like...
Stop.
Like, these sisters, it's crazy, bro.
Dude, the sisterhood is crazy.
Crazy, the plotting, dude. So, big improvement from last week's episode.
I would agree. Maybe not big, but it's an improvement.
I would say it's improvement because I wasn't sleepy, you know. I was feeling sleepy at a certain point.
One time I got sleepy, but that's it.
I was sleepy a little bit, but then it really got going.
Yeah.
Definitely an improvement in pacing, in interesting dialogue, in the stakes actually being felt to a certain degree. To having kind of consequences occurring from past actions in kind of unexpected ways. So a lot of just a lot of stuff that was keeping me intrigued and kind of wanting to. Instead of like just being like, oh, I like Dune, and you know, I'm kind of curious. Like now, I kind of feel like I know where this show is going, and I'm way more intrigued. And
like I was already intrigued.
We're getting back to that good old HBO
Game of Thrones sex. Yeah. But no, I think
it's been too long, my friend.
My favorite stuff from that first episode was with Desmond, and I think he just got even stronger this episode. Like I loved his interactions with the sister Prime. What's the
Mother Reverend?
Is that her name? Mother Reverend?
Well, okay. You mean Valia?
Yeah, but they gave her like a title. Like
I thought she was a Reverend Mother at this point.
Yeah, but like aren't there other Reverend Mothers?
I thought she was the only.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Could be wrong.
But yeah, like their interactions were great, especially their last scene where like she does the scream at him and he's like
the voice.
Nah, I'm good.
I don't want to.
I don't want to cut my throat.
I don't want to
put it back in my pocket.
And I'm gonna say something really mean to you.
Yeah, and his read on her was great, and just his presence has been amazing this season. I love seeing the Emperor, like how he was able to turn like his position around with this guy, and like maybe like where he is morally, and like especially his wife. Like we got to see a lot of his wife this episode.
Which I guess she's kind of if I'm not mistaken, in the first episode, she was like, you know, or at least he was saying the Empire was better for it when like I was listening to you, or like maybe she was saying that to him.
She was saying that, yes, and he's like, we have different memories of the past, right?
And now she's kind of
she's back in that
her
role.
Way.
You're right. I forgot about that.
You know.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like that.
The students have a lot more intrigue.
They were better this time, for sure. I still don't like the edgier like white woman student. I don't remember in the first episode she was like, and I killed somebody and laughed about it or something, or I don't know.
About the sister who
tries to convince the other one to not do this ritual thing. Yeah. Her. I'm still not a fan of her, but like I like the Raquel. Was that the one who went through the ritual?
No, her name's Tula.
Okay, well,
but they were trying to get her to talk to Raquel,
something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that her whole journey through the episode was really well done, and her final, like when she's going through it, was really strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a really cool scene and kind of freaky with all the black and white bodies just swarming her.
Now, did I read it right that like, so when she I guess when she kind of woke up from all the bodies swarming her, she was speaking to her great grandmother?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Sort of. She was like, I think, okay, it was either that it was her for a moment and then it became the woman who was murdered, or it was always the woman who was murdered and she was just pretending to be the great grandmother.
Well, I had a different read. I guess my read was that it was always the great grandmother, and then she told her that like the woman that was her mother who like, you know, Lilia or Valia just told her to like, you know, stab a knife into her throat.
Yeah.
She, you know, the great grandmother figure was saying that like, if you were expecting to see her here, then you're sadly mistaken. You know, like they tricked you into doing this for that. And that she killed her in revenge to like stopping their plans. That was my read on it. That like, even though she's her great granddaughter, she's like, I'm still going to kill you because you're a part of their plans. I'm going to stop them.
Okay. No, because that wouldn't make any sense, because the woman who Valia killed,
I thought that was her mother, right?
It might have been, yes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
The woman that Valia killed wanted to get rid of their breeding program, which Raquella, the Reverend Mother, and her great grandmother was in charge of and had created. So Valia killed her because she wanted to continue the breeding program, and then the woman that they killed didn't. So that wouldn't make any sense, because obviously the great grandmother would have wanted that to continue. So I do believe that it was either...
I think it was her mom killing her daughter, in a sense. Was that kind of what we're reading here?
I don't think Tula died.
I think Tula died. I'm like almost positive Tula died.
She might have.
I mean, you are more fresh coming off of the show, but
she might have died. I don't
because
know.
Like they were crying over her body at the end. Like it was. I don't think
it was her great grandmother, but
okay.
Yeah, well, because she was like, "You stole my future," you know.
Yeah, it had to have been. But I guess my read on it was that like the great grandmother was saying, like, to the Harkonnen, "You stole my future by killing my line," in a sense. But maybe not. I think your version makes more sense.
It could be. I mean,
sorry to the viewers that we had such a hard read on this thing, even though we thought it was cool as hell.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you want to keep talking about it, I'll try to see if I can find what.
I'll talk about some other stuff I thought was cool. I had to say, like, even though I'm rooting against the sisterhood, I think it's very cool, like how they communicate and how they influence each other and like work the system. Like, I think one of my favorite parts of that episode was seeing like Valia come into the Emperor's like throne room, and the woman who's advising the other person, the father who was gonna marry his son to the Emperor's daughter, she very subtly was like, "You need to get him out of here and get control of your guy." And the other sister was like immediately, you know, spraying on it. So I like how they're manipulating things. It's very efficient and well done, but like, I still am not rooting against, or I'm not rooting for them, because like I know they're a bit snaky. Yeah. So have you found anything?
Shai Halud, Benny Gesserit, Shai Halud, Carino.
Well, if we don't figure it out, you can tell us in the comments what the actual interpretation of it is there.
Lila ultimately opts to undergo the agony. She does reach Raquella, who issues a prophecy, and then they do the key to reckoning is one born twice, once in blood, once in spice. Sure sounds like a certain soldier swallowed by a sandworm, which is what I was thinking. It was Desmond is who she was talking about. But Raquella also reveals that Lila has been lied to. Her mother isn't there in her genetic memory. Oh, maybe it is what you're talking about, that they got tricked because maybe she could find her mother. But then again, Tula, or not Tula, or no, it is Tula.
Yeah.
or whoever Valia's sister was telling her, like, I don't think you'll find your mother, I thought.
She was saying it's a strong possibility you won't find her mother, but it is still a possibility.
Which means she's alive. Which means she's alive somewhere. Lila also learns Valia and Tula's secret. They killed one of their Bene Gesserit sisters to clear Valia's path to power. All that truth seems to come at the cost of Lila's life. Maybe you're right.
So was the great-grandmother killing her great-granddaughter?
So I guess she's more upset that
the Harkonnens killed her line.
Yeah.
In a sense. But you're saying, but that article is implying that like her mother, like Tula's mother, is still alive, right?
That's what the GQ article says. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, it's a little confusing. I hope
I'm not gonna lie. This show, like the books, like the movies, in a sense, like there's a lot going on. So
there is
like,
a lot going on.
You will. I think you like. Obviously, we've missed some stuff, but.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really brought up the fact that like they're focusing a good bit on her swordmaster and how he's kind of a spy and working for the rebellion, but also seems to be somewhat in love with the princess. But yeah, she ends up breaking off their relationship because she's sticking around, I guess. So yeah, we don't really know what their path is going to lead to, but he seems like an important character.
Yeah, I mean, he's an Atreides.
He is an Atreides. It's cool to see an Atreides. Yeah.
I think one of the coolest kiss scenes in science fiction history happened when they're
this past episode.
Well, yeah, when their shields, they're moving so slow that they can kiss through their shield and it's red.
Okay.
And then she's got the knife that comes. Is like, we got to break this off. I was like, all right, that was some pretty good writing. It's right there. I was like, okay, cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think it's a strong statement saying that's one of the greatest sci-fi kisses of all time. When like this is like the second episode of some spinoff show for Dune.
I mean, just because it's the second episode doesn't.
No. I feel you. It's just like
I thought it was a really good. I did.
Yeah, sure. We're not loving it, is what I'm saying. Like, but it's good.
But it's good. But I'm saying the kiss was great.
Right. Yeah. So you can have great moments in a semi decent show.
Yeah. So. I really like the Emperor's wife. Yeah. She's she's fascinating because she's got a lot of
stuff going on.
I mean, she to the point where she's just blackmailing him almost she's like, what's the purpose of keeping you around if you don't, offer me anything? It's like, all right, I'll burn the Duke.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm surprised they didn't go full on killing with it.
I mean, I'm surprised he's like, I mean, of course you're going to beg for your life, but like, do you really want to go on living with all those burns?
Also, I feel like, yeah, that's true. But like, I feel like it seems like Desmond has the ability to kill anyone from like anywhere in the universe, right?
It would seem so.
So I think it's a little cheese that like they had him walk up to the Duke and be like, I'm going to burn you. I think it would have been even more intimidating to be like, out of nowhere, he just starts burning. And he's like, what?
I'm going to burn you.
Right. But like, I think,
or like keep it a secret,
That's exactly. Now he knows he has this guy who can just burn him.
Right.
I think what should go forward in the future is that like no one ever gets to see Desmond again. And I mean, maybe like the viewers can for sure, but like the Emperor's got to keep him hidden and he can just be like, I got the power to just say, hey, burn this person across the universe and you can do it. So that's exciting as hell. And I'm glad the Emperor took that opportunity. Because I think at first when he arrested him, I was like, oh no. But yeah,
I just need to know what happened. Like, did the sandworm truly eat him?
I think it did. I really do.
So fascinating. It's so interesting.
It's very interesting.
Is going on with that.
Yeah. If he wasn't in the show, then like the show is so much worse, to be honest.
It's certainly not as intriguing.
Yeah.
I certainly think that I do think you're right. Like I think without that character who's providing so much drama and mystery and intrigue, you could have somebody like you could have had the Emperor be like, or somebody plot and be like, kill the boy, and like we're keeping it a secret, which could be fine, but I'm not gonna lie, like the power struggle for the sisterhood at this point to like influence what's going on, like you said, I'm not exactly rooting for them or like, ooh, oh no, this messes up their plans.
Yeah, no, like I'm happy when Desmond screws up their plans.
Yeah, so. Like I'm more, but then again, without them, I don't get Paul Atreides. And I don't get the story of Dune, which like we know where this story is going. Is that like I think why we're rooting against them is because in the movies we're rooting against them, Yes.
So I don't think this show is going to end in a spot where like Desmond is victorious. I think the sisterhood will be victorious by the end of the season.
Yes.
But it's very cool to follow him around and like see him screw them up for a while.
I am curious. I feel like there's got to be more to his character than just to like put a like a little wrench in their plans. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, he wants to take them down fully. So yeah. I'm a little surprised like why he wouldn't have just burned the Valia.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, you
guys were alone. I mean,
you could also like stab her.
Sure. I mean, she has no power over you. So he seems pretty invulnerable.
He just said like the just most like mean girl shit to her at the end.
Like about her fear and whatnot.
Yeah, he's like, I wonder what would be your biggest fear. And it's, what was it? That everyone would hear you, but they just wouldn't care.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Like, oh shit.
Nobody cares what you think. Yeah, it's so
it's almost like maybe he wants her to like suffer as much as possible while like everything else goes terrible around her. I could see that being like his kind of goal.
Yeah. Dear diary, I couldn't make him kill himself today.
It distraught me so much.
I couldn't get the princess to marry a 9-year-old. All my plans are getting ruined.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if she ever gets to the sisterhood. It's very possible she won't now. But
yeah. Also the sex scene where obviously that guy was getting played. Like
the sword guy? Or?
No. The brother and
yeah.
The like daughter of
I was like, why did you say that? That was
like,
to me.
Do you realize like right. I mean like at least I was like, dude, you're getting played right now, but
right.
Because I was like, this is gonna come up. It's gonna get brought up, and she's gonna do like, we're gonna see her make some sort of motion about like, haha, I knew I was the one who did it.
That's exactly what happened. Right. Yeah, I was like, I saw exactly where this was going. Like immediately when he was like, he doesn't think my father notices that I see things, but I do, and I'm like, oh my god, you're such a moron.
My dad loves me.
Yeah, so I think that was like the only really like cheesy writing I would say in this one. But yeah,
I still thought the scene was good, even like because I was like, okay, you're being played, but like he's also on drugs, and I'm like,
he's a dumbass in general.
Well,
so.
he's a sweet guy. He obviously like cares about.
Yeah, but he's obviously family, like the ladies guy who doesn't have any ambitions. So
yeah.
So. But yeah, I am still actually looking forward. Maybe not still, but I'm actually looking forward to episode 3 a bit when I wasn't looking forward to episode 2 at all. So
I agree. I'm actually looking forward to finding out what happens
What's going
next. On. Even though we're going to be halfway through the season next episode.
I hate that, dude. I hate that so much. We needed at least 8 episodes, but
yeah.
That's fine. That's fine.
It's so strange that like the Penguin is
it's like the golden standard right now.
I would say like the Penguin has more. I wouldn't say it has as complex of storylines because this story does have a lot of different things at play. But it's just interesting that a story like The Penguin is getting told through 8 episodes and has significantly more compelling writing than a show that's based off of like Dune and
it has an actual book behind it, you know.
I don't know how much of it. I still don't know how much of that is actually based off of any one particular book. But I mean,
yeah, if anyone's read Dune: The Sisterhood out there by Brian Herbert, then let us know how similar it is.
Yeah, I mean, what does it even say? It says the show which draws upon but is set after the great Schools of Dune novel trilogy by Brian Herbert.
Interesting.
Which is what I thought. It's not an actual story. It's just based off of.
So they must have really reworked, because at one point, I guess maybe that's what I'm remembering is like at one point, and I think they had redeveloped the whole season or series at one point. So I think the original development was that it was called Dune: The Sisterhood, and it was based off of the same book. So they must have really, done some shaking up around, and they really wanted a spinoff that was set thousands and thousands of years before Dune for some reason.
Yeah. So by the way, I still think that it was set it was still going to be set roughly around like it's
time period. Okay.
Like it's saying that it's set after the trilogy.
Yeah.
So it's still pretty far, before like the Dune story. Yeah. So I think that's still the same. But there were moments in like this episode and the last episode where I was like, it's still an HBO show. Like it's still like amazing to look at. And like the actors are still great. Like for
the most part. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, sometimes I'm like, Mark Strong feels a little out of place.
I would agree sometimes. He's not the strongest emperor in my head. He doesn't have a lot of defining characteristics.
But I guess that's kind of the point. Like they call him like a weak emperor.
I mean, it feels like it. It really does. Like he's being manipulated by everybody.
Yeah,
so,
he really is.
Yeah. No, I mean, if that's how the story's written, then it makes sense. I would also say the students aren't the greatest of actors, but it works. It works fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking forward to episode 3.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, I think that's our topics this week. Have you gotten to watch anything?
Besides Wicked, no, not really. Yeah. No. Honestly.
I think the only thing I've really watched is, I just kept up with the Harry Potter watch through we've been doing. And I think I said last week we were going to see if the Deathly Hallows movies were going to be my least favorite. We watched part 1. It is my least favorite at this point of the first 7. I haven't seen part 2 in this watch through. But yeah, it's just like they're on the run for so much of it. They're like on a big search for so much of it, and they only ever like really do one thing. Like they only destroy one Horcrux the entire movie and figure out some shit. And then there's this like big confrontation with the Bellatrix Lestrange, and they kind of get fucked up in that, and even Dobby dies. So you're like, it's ending on a sad note. Most of the movie is sad or like stressful, and you're like, it's not a bad story per se, but it's like this is not the Harry Potter you had been coming to the last 6 years,
Yeah, and I do think it also goes back to Dune and Wicked, where it's like,
that part 1 needs the part 2.
Like part 2 is still pretty dour at points,
right?
But you have a bit more you have a bit more arguably after Dobby's death, you do have a bit more like entertaining sections of the movie where you have the Gringotts battle, and then the where the dragon flies out, and you have the story of the three brothers.
Oh, that was at the end of the first one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The like the whole animation thing.
Oh, well, see, I really like that.
Yeah, no, that is good. I agree. That's a good story. Yeah.
Actually, I can't remember all the stuff.
I mean, you also have, like the Battle of Hogwarts is huge. Right. And then you also have like one of my favorite points of the second one is like Harry going into the Dark Forest and like meeting with the Death Eaters and then dying and like coming back to life.
Yeah.
That's great.
A lot of, So, and then the train sequence, there's a lot of memorable stuff, but I would also say that like one of my favorite scenes in the entire Harry Potter franchise is when Hermione and Harry dance to Nick Cave in the tent.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
It is a good moment. Yeah. I would say what is really strong about these movies is that like you throughout these seven movies, like you have really grown and like believe and love the friendship between like Harry and Hermione. Like there's no sense of like either of them liking each other in a romantic way, but they're just really great friends. And I think that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
wait, so you didn't watch Transformers 1?
I did watch Transformers 1. I forgot I had watched that. Yes. It was, oh my gosh, Zach. That was so good.
I know.
A 4.5.
I know.
Like you said, hands down the best Transformers movie. There was only a couple of like small things I didn't love. Like Bumblebee was pretty much just like a joke character at a certain point. I didn't love that Megatron turned like so full evil by the end. But like the journey, the story was so good. Like their friendship and it like breaking apart gradually, and then the final interaction and Optimus going down and meeting the Primes, and like it was all so good. The action was great. The story was great. Yeah, I mean, and like I could see the Sentinel Prime thing coming, but
when it happened, when it gets down to like all the things he did, I was like,
right. I was like, whoa,
you're gonna die. Yeah, which was the thing, which was like, I don't necessarily disagree with Megatron, but like obviously in the ideal society.
By the end, I did.
Huh?
By the end, you disagree with him, right? I mean, like he basically wants to tear down like society and start over. I mean, it's.
Yeah, but like, and that's what I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not saying like I think it's very radical, and I think that's partially like what I thought was so brilliant about the movie was the fact that it was kind of having commentary. Like, if your entire world was to be built on a lie, there is a certain, and you see it in like in countries and stuff where like. People like want to rise up and they want to tear stuff down. And usually when that happens, it just ends up having bad people still doing bad things. And it's like, it tearing the whole thing down is not always a good idea. And so, but like, I can see why somebody like, if your entire world was, he took your cog for transforming,
right?
He lied to you. He's selling you out to this other
Made
race.
You believe that he was a hero, and right. Like, I mean, everything is.
Why wouldn't you like tear it all down and just like let's change everything and make it how we want it to be because we were lied to. And then I think Prime was like, well, don't kill him because we can be better than that, and then we can take what is good about our world and then change it, and obviously like that's the ideal. Yeah, but I can't help but also be like, but Megatron, I would be so fucking mad too.
I think the disconnect is like where it happens is him like sacrificing Optimus. Like I think that's the problem that most people should have with it.
Yeah.
Because like he's done saving him. I don't think he really saved him more than like once or twice in the movie. Like there's not really.
But it was implied that he had done it so many times, at least to me. Like he had saved his ass so many times in the past, and he was just getting tired of it. It
was wild. It was wild to see. But no, a great movie, and I think great voice acting too from Chris Hemsworth, and then I think the Optimus was Brian. I mean, Megatron was Brian Tyree Henry, I think was his name.
I was really skeptical about him being Megatron, and now
so
I'm
was
like, all right, this man is great as Megatron.
Yeah, he was
Chris
great.
Hemsworth was great as Optimus. I was like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, like some of the Optimus scenes were like gave me chills. Like him giving speeches and like it works so well. I can't believe how good the movie was.
I know. It's really good.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I would watch that again in a heartbeat. Like it's just
agreed.
Jeez, I was shocked.
Yeah. I mean, and there was only a few times where I was like, the animation doesn't look great there. But like overall, it looked really amazing most of the movie. So yeah, that was a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I gave it to. I'm like, damn, is this gonna be one of my movies of the year?
It could be. It could be a top 5. I don't know yet, but it's very possible. But yeah. I think that's all I've watched this week. Now that I forgot to bring up Transformers 1. But yeah,
did you do such a thing?
I don't know how I could do such a thing. I guess I was so blinded by seeing Wicked, and I just focused on that. But yeah, thank you as always for watching and listening. This is the end of the podcast, and if you want to listen to us in the future, we like to release our episodes beginning of the week and then clips throughout the week. If you want to follow us on social medias and other places, the links to those in the description below. And if you want to give us a like, a comment, a rating, a review, or a subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it.
And as always, until next time.